What happens when a band's goodbye note becomes their most important statement? In 1982, that's exactly what happened. The Descendents were set to release a final 22-minute album because their singer, Milo, was quitting to pursue a degree in biochemistry. They even named the record after his departure, Milo Goes to College, and put a cartoon of his nerdy face on the cover. It was supposed to be a final, frantic burst of energy before they all moved on. It was meant to be the end, but it ended up being one of the most important beginnings in the history of punk rock. To understand just how radical this album was, we have to go back to 1982. The Southern California hardcore punk scene was a cauldron of aggression. It was a world dominated by bands like Black Flag and the Circle Jerks, bands that championed political rage, anti-authoritarianism, and a brutal, nihilistic worldview. The music was fast, it was loud, and it was angry. The message was clear: society is broken, the future is bleak, and the only sane response is to scream about it. There was an established punk rulebook, and it was written in sweat, spit, and fury. This was the world the Descendents were born into, but it was a world where they didn't fully belong. And then the Descendents dropped Milo Goes to College. At first listen, you get glimpses of that hardcore pedigree. The album is teeming with furious catchiness, caffeine-fueled anthems, and raw power. A track like Parents, written by their hot-headed guitarist, is pure, unadulterated teenage fury. A minute-and-a-half tirade against parental authority that fit right into the scene. But then they did something that made purists revolt. They took that hardcore speed and slammed it headfirst into irresistible, sun-drenched pop melodies. Kids were expecting the sonic equivalent of a fistfight, but instead they got Hope, a song written by Milo himself that's a brilliant, almost agonizingly optimistic take on unrequited love from a loser's perspective. They got Bike Age, a track that opens with one of the most iconic melodic bass lines in punk history. Courtesy of Tony Lombardo. Instead of just shouting, Milo was singing, with a whiny, nerdy, yet incredibly earnest voice about heartbreak, insecurity, and feeling like a total outsider. The album was filled with songs about girls, wanting a normal suburban home, and even fishing.
I want to be stereotyped. I want to be classified.
I want to be stereotyped. I want to be classified. I want to be.
This wasn't just a departure. For many in the scene, it was a complete betrayal of the punk rock ethos. It was fast, catchy, and dangerously personal. The genius of Milo Goes to College is about how it weaponized melody. The musical backbone of the band was a powerhouse of unique talents. You had Bill Stevenson, a drumming legend, even in his teens, whose peppy, complex beats could navigate sudden time changes and keep the relentless energy from ever collapsing. On guitar, Frank Nivetta's playing was like California surf rock on a caffeine overdose. A raw, relentless strumming that gave the band its teeth. But the secret weapon was the rhythm section. It was Tony Lombardo, who was nearly 20 years older than his bandmates. He wasn't just playing root notes, he was crafting entire melodies with his bass. His driving, articulate bass lines in songs like My Age and Bike Age often carry the main musical theme, allowing the guitar to focus on rhythm and texture. This approach, combined with Milo's unapologetically nerdy and emotional vocals, created a sound that was entirely new. They proved a punk frontman didn't have to be a snarling tough guy like Henry Rollins. He could be a geek with glasses and still command the stage. This accidental record, this 22-minute farewell, became foundational. It became the quintessential American pop-punk LP, serving as a direct reference point for countless bands that followed. You simply do not get a band like Blink-182 without this album. Mark himself has cited the Descendents as a life-altering influence, and you can hear Milo's DNA all over their songs about suburban angst and romantic frustration. You don't get the melodic sensibilities of Green Day, or even the high-energy skate punk of NoFX and The Offspring without the groundwork laid by the Descendents. They carved out a new space in punk. It was a space for the outcasts, the nerds, and the kids who felt too awkward for the hardcore scene, but too restless for mainstream radio.
Want to be a bear.
punk could be about more than just nihilism and political rage. It could be nerdy, it could be melodic, and it could be unapologetically vulnerable. They showed that you could sing about wanting a girlfriend with the same passion and intensity as singing about wanting to smash the state. Ultimately, Milo Goes to College wasn't a footnote in punk history. It was a new chapter. It broadened the definition of what a punk song could be about, arguing that heartbreak was just as valid a topic as anarchy, and that vulnerability could be just as powerful as rage. The album that was supposed to close the book on the Descendents became the foundational text for a whole new generation of punk rock. Milo may have gone to college, but he left behind the homework for countless bands to study for decades to come. What does this album mean to you? Drop your take in the comments. And hey, my offer to accept original pressings of this album stand.